Hello, hello, or should I say hello again to this trend watching webinar on the future of luxury. Had a bit of a technical hitch there, but we're back online now. Thank you so much for your patience. Just goes to show that we could have added a sixth trend to the trends reshaping luxury, consumerism in 2017 and beyond, and that trend will be perfect internet, perfect connectivity, something we still apparently have not mastered. But anyway, hey ho, we're back online now. As I said, there are thousands of you out there signed up. Thank you so much for joining me from all corners of the globe. We're going to talk about 5 trends reshaping the future of luxury in 2017. I told you that the trend watching butler had bought me my luxury martini. Of course, I've knocked that one back. I'm now on to number 3. I'm feeling good, so let's do it. Very quickly, because we've been through all this already. You know me, David Mattin, Head of Global Trends and Insights at Trend Watching, head of the team that's thinking, analyzing, spotting the trends and bringing them to you. And it is peak trend time for us, peak thinking time for us right now, because we are deep in the writing process that will produce our big trend report for 2017. It will go live to premium clients listening in exactly 1 month today. Yes, 1 month today till you get the trend report 2017. Exciting stuff. I'm having to run all this, as I told you, on the download because the team will be very upset with me for taking time away from the crucial trend report process. And then, of course, we'll be turning, as lots of you already know, we'll be turning those trends and lots more content into our big series of 5 trend events coming to a city relatively near you very soon. Check out trendwatching.com/events. For more on that. I'll see you there if you've already bought a ticket. Looking forward to it, can't wait. And of course, as I said, it's peak trend thinking time for us because it's peak trend thinking time for you. This is the time of year that you're thinking about 2017, that your colleagues are asking you. You're asking yourself, what's next? What should we do? What's 2017 going to bring us? So just one tiny bit of help in all of that. If you love this webinar, if the trends in this webinar intrigue you, and you're a premium client, you know that you can, of course, dive into premium, download this deck as a PowerPoint, chop it up as you want, add in the new examples that we're spotting all the time, that we're pouring into the database, and present this back to your team. So I hope just a tiny bit of help with love from Trend Watching to you at this very busy time of year. And there's lots more love and help coming down the pipeline. So you know all about us. You know we publish lots of free content. You know about the premium service. You know that even sometimes we leave Trend Watching Towers and run these workshops to help you and your team go from our insights, or your own insights indeed, to ideas. But today we want to talk about the most recent installment when it comes to the global free monthly trend briefing that we publish, The Future of Luxury. And why do we want to talk about the future of luxury? We want to talk about it because it is changing. It's changing very fast, okay? And whenever something in the consumer arena is changing fast, that means massive opportunity. And I just want to start with a couple of snapshots of how it is changing. So this is the first one. July 2016, 2 street food stalls in Singapore became the first street food stalls to be awarded a Michelin star. The one you can see in front of you is the Hong Kong soya sauce chicken rice and noodle. It's in the Chinatown complex in Singapore. It pretty much does what it says. It serves you dishes of chicken and rice. They go for about $2 a time. That's about half the local cost of a Big Mac. About as far from traditional fine dining, traditional luxury dining, everything that we associate Michelin stars with, about as far from all of that as you can possibly get. And yet, in July 2016, it was awarded a Michelin star. So something interesting is afoot. But it's not only in emerging markets that we see these kinds of changes happening. So this is January 2016. Pepsi announced plans to launch Cola House. This is a luxury bar and lounge in Manhattan's meatpacking district. Now, I don't know about you, but I do not usually or typically associate Pepsi with luxury. But they're going all out in Manhattan, a luxury bar, artisanal menu, you know, proper cocktail curator will be on hand to serve you the cocktails you want. So again, something interesting is happening. The nature of luxury, the meaning of luxury appears to be changing. And I just want to take a step back from, you know, there are so many other snapshots of this kind I could give you, but take a step back from these kinds of examples and ask why. What are the forces driving these changes in the nature of luxury consumerism. Because yes, as you can see in front of you now, the expectations of luxury consumers are changing fast. Okay, so part of the picture is this. Okay, we know what we mean by traditional luxury, by typical, the luxury we're all kind of used to. It means the supercar, you know, the wildly expensive holiday, the designer handbag. We all know, we all sense that there is more to luxury now than that. The story when it comes to luxury is changing, is evolving. And part of that picture, part of what's driving that is obviously mass affluence. We're all becoming richer. And then connectivity too. Connectivity, when you combine it with this affluence, is giving rise to amazing lifestyle changes, amazing changes that are pushing the frontiers of our lifestyle, of our lifestyles ever outwards. I mean, after all, who needs an amazing, you know, luxury car when, as Uber used to say, I think, you know, you can have a private driver in your pocket. You know, millions of people around the world do. So the frontiers of our lifestyles are being pushed ever outwards. We can feel the frontiers of what it means to have a luxurious consumer experience being pushed ever outwards. But amid all that change, at heart, what drives luxury consumerism, or at least a very big part of what drives luxury consumerism, remains the same, and that is the search for status. Status, it's one of the big ideas that we talk about at Trend Watching so often. And when you think about status, this consumer search for status and how that's changing, you get much, much closer to the real heart of why the nature of luxury consumerism is changing. So status, we all know what old traditional status consumer status used to feel like. It was these amazing wealth display products and services that I just mentioned, you know, the supercar, expensive holiday, designer handbag, massive house. We all know that we've moved beyond that when it comes to status. You know, we've become so affluent that yes, they're still part of the story, but increasingly just having access to very expensive goods and services is not enough to mark the consumer out as special. Okay, so we moved on to experiences. What about rare, surprising, very shareable experiences? But connectivity, as I just talked about, has democratized the experience economy. You know, it's made rare, surprising, shareable experiences, if this isn't a contradiction in terms, accessible to pretty much everyone. Everyone's having amazing experiences these days. And what that has driven in the end is this profound shift that we've talked about before on these webinars, away from status as what I have, or even status as what I've done, and towards a vision of consumer status as who I am as a person. This is about status that says I am more connected, more creative, more productive, more healthy, you know, more ethical than the masses, than the next person. And that is how I mark myself out as special, okay? And as the nature of status changes in that way, so the nature of luxury consumerism changes accordingly. Now, everyone knows about the global luxury slowdown. We know that luxury consumerism is in a difficult spot right now, relatively. Okay, there's been decreased tourism across Europe, instability in the Middle East, weakening growth in China. Bain & Company said there was just 1% real terms year-on-year growth when it comes to the luxury market in Q1 2016. So very, very meager growth. But that shouldn't be, you know, although outwardly that's a bad news story, never waste a good crisis, right? I think is the answer. Smart brands, smart innovators will use this time, the luxury slowdown right now, as a moment to reassess what the nature of luxury it will mean in 2017 and beyond, as a moment to get a handle on these profound changes when it comes to luxury consumerism, and to adjust, to innovate accordingly, to get ahead of that curve. This is a brilliant moment to be doing all that, because of course, if you can do that, if you're able to innovate accordingly to serve the expectations of these luxury consumers, the rewards are still huge, they're still immense. The global luxury market, 295 billion euros in revenue by 2020. So there's a lot of joy to be had out there if you're going to be the smart brands that are able to get ahead of the curve when it comes to luxury expectations. And that's what this is all about. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we have 5 very powerful new directions in luxury consumerism to get through. So let's dive into the first one, which I call the quintessential self. This is, you can see what I've done. I've taken the quantified self and I've made a bit of a play on it. Hope you like it, because this trend is all about self-improvement. Okay, we talked about this race to be more ethical, more creative, more connected, healthier, more productive than the next person, and how that's profoundly tied now to status. Status is not as what I have, but as who I am. And in fact, we published a free trend briefing a couple of months, 2-3 months ago, called The Future of Betterment, that really dived deep into all of this, about this status race, this race for self-improvement, how it's becoming more intense, more powerful than ever. Okay, when status becomes about who I am as a person, then the race to improve as a person becomes more important, more powerful, more intense, more acute than ever before. Okay, so what does that mean for luxury in 2017 and beyond? Well, very simply, the quintessential self is about saying consumers will embrace brand, product, services, innovations that allow them to combine self-improvement with luxurious indulgence. You know, they're often things we don't associate with one another, because self-improvement is hard and it often feels hard. Luxurious, indulgence is supposed to, by definition, feel easy, feel indulgent, okay? But we're now seeing the rise or the intensification of consumer expectations that want both of those things combined. And I just want to have a look at how that's playing out. So the first example is one I love. This is the Mandarin Oriental Hotel in Barcelona. In January 2016, it launched 2 luxury packages for people running the March 2016 Barcelona Marathon. So there's kind of a basic package, just 3-night stay, some coaching, a special t-shirt. And then there was the special Get Ready package, which was a 5-day training package. You got special coaching at a local sports clinic, one-on-one coaching, plus all the other stuff I talked about, running t-shirts, spa treatments, all of that. The basic package started at €2,000 for 2 people sharing a room. Okay, so just a really interesting spin on the kind of experience you expect to have at a luxury hotel. Once upon a time, you'd go to a luxury hotel and boast about the fact that you pretty much didn't lift a finger, you did nothing, everything was done for you. Now you go to a luxury hotel and you boast about how intense your marathon training was, how you were kind of taken to task by a local sports trainer for 5 days before you ran this marathon. It's a very, very interesting shift in expectations when it comes to what a luxury experience is all about. Coming at this more from a product angle, this is Samsung partnering with a Swiss watchmaker called Grisagono, launching this product. It's as you can see on the screen, $15,000 luxury smartwatch. Okay, it's embezzled with jewels, with diamond set, gold, amazing strap, all of that stuff if you're into luxury watches. But crucially, it's also a smartwatch that tracks activity levels, heart rate, step count, all of that kind of stuff. Retailed, as I say, for $15,000, and was only available to view, even just to view via consultation with this luxury Swiss watchmaker. So again, once upon a time, you'd have a luxury watch that kind of, denoted that you're a gentleman of leisure. You have people around you to do everything you want. Now you have a luxury watch that promotes the idea that you're very physically active, that you keep track of all of this stuff, that you're obsessed with your personal fitness. The quintessential self, though, I want to make this point with this example, doesn't have to be about spending vast sums of money. Okay, if we put an experiential twist on it, it can start to look something like this. What about rare, surprising fitness experiences? Because rare, surprising experiences are still out there for the people who are prepared to look hard enough. This is New York's Crunch Gym's anti-gravity cocooning fitness and meditation classes. So as you can see, you hang in one of these hammocks. You do 20 minutes of stretching, abdominal exercises, 15 minutes of guided meditation. So again, it's a really strange take on a fitness class, something that pretty much none of your friends, you're assured that pretty much none of your friends are gonna have done. Very rare, very surprising, very shareable, but it has fitness, it has self-improvement at its heart. Think about the signal this sends to people when you share that picture of yourself on Facebook doing this fitness class, right? It's a very particular kind of message about I value rare experiences. I'm a connoisseur of experiences as the experience economy demands I should be, but I'm also obsessed with my own well-being, my own health, my own self-improvement. I mean, for cocktail lovers like me, this one speaks to itself, okay? Don't just go to a London bar, Bart's in this case, and have a delicious cocktail. Go to Bart's and have a cocktail that will enhance your mood, okay? These cocktails are mixed with ingredients that are designed to enhance happiness, release certain hormones, encourage you to relax. One has calcium and magnesium in it that's intended to combat stress, chamomile, lavender that can help you relax. Another one has, they're not that expensive, they're about £15 a go. But again, sending a very particular message about the nature of your consumerism. Yes, I'm a luxury consumer. Yes, I'm a connoisseur, but I also am obsessed with my well-being, with my, in this case, my, my cognitive, emotional state. And last, this is Seabourn, the very well-known luxury cruise liner. Not so different to the example. We've come full circle to the kind of example we started off with. A luxury cruise that's built all around fitness and well-being, and physical and cognitive health. Okay, so they have a personal trainer on board who's going to look after all of that, coach you through these programs, do all of that with you while you're there. It's not about just relaxing and doing nothing. It's about taking serious steps, focusing on your own health and well-being for the duration of the cruise. So that just gives you a very quick snapshot of how these powerful directions, self-improvement, status, and the search for new kinds of luxury are coming together in this trend, the quintessential self. And it's just worth remembering, of course, that this race to improve, this race to accrue status via self-improvement is totally mainstream. We see it happening right across the board. And that's what the quintessential self is all about. It's about saying, in an environment where everyone is doing this, how can I still mark myself out as special? One way is to seek out, these products, services that offer luxury indulgence, often at a very high cost, that combine that with self-improvement. Okay, and by doing that, I can still feel and mark myself out as special. Okay, racing on to trend number 2, VID, which, as you can see, stands for very important data. So yes, this is a data trend. This is essentially a tech trend because we all connected consumers know, we all know that our data is being relentlessly used, relentlessly exploited, you might say, by brands, okay? Things like our location, our personal history, our media preferences, our purchasing history, all of that is being exploited by brands who want to know more about us and sell us more of whatever it is that they do. And consumers also know that there's a host, by the way, of hackers out there who would love to and sometimes do manage to get into that data themselves. So in that kind of environment, in an environment where data is becoming a personal asset, data as a new asset class is something we hear lots about. In that kind of environment, what's one new powerful direction for luxury consumerism? Our answer here with this trend, very important data, is total data security. Total data security. And yes, this is a tech trend. Yes, this is all about the data we're spinning off because of technology, because of the smartphone, because of social media. But in the end, it always comes down to human beings and their basic needs and wants. And this trend fundamentally in the end is about empowerment. The empowerment that comes with a sense of control, that comes with a sense of peace of mind, okay? That is really the rare asset class. In this environment we live, where personal data is an asset and all kinds of people want to get their hands on it. Very few of us feel that we have total control of that, total peace of mind, total understanding even of what's going on. If you can achieve that total peace of mind, that, in our view here at Trend Watching, is a very powerful new form of luxury. And of course, the more valuable, the more important your data is, the more acute that need for control becomes. And hence this trend, very important data. I just want to have a look at some examples of that. Very quickly, a statistic, you can see it in front of you now, 39% of ultra high net worth individuals say that privacy, security, online privacy and security is an issue of concern for them. And of course it is, because if you're worth a fortune, your data is worth a fortune. And more people are trying to get at it. That's obvious. Okay, so first example. This is an intriguing one. This is Bulgari, the Italian luxury jeweler. They partnered with an online security firm called WiseKey to produce an app that provides security around mobile payments and other kinds of smartphone data. So this app is like, it's like a secure platform, protects your passwords, protects your banking information, all your pictures, your videos, your media, your messages, and it actually takes that data and stores it in a high security bunker in the Swiss Alps. Yes, so this is your personal data stored in the Swiss Alps. Okay, I mean, I know that this is to a certain extent a playful thing. There's an element of rhetoric in the fact that they're doing that, of course, because it's a saleable moment, it's a talking point. But once upon a time, you know, you kept your jewelry, your luxury jewelry in a vault in the Swiss Alps. Now you keep your personal data in that vault in the Swiss Alps. Okay, so very intriguing, and very intriguing too that such a well-known luxury brand is partnering with a relatively humble, you know, non-luxurious, functional technology company to produce this kind of innovation that really gives you an insight into the new direction that this trend is pointing in. This is Serum Labs. This is the Solarin. This is a $13,000 US dollar Android smartphone with military-grade data security built in. 256-bit encryption activated by a physical switch that places the cell phone in a secure mode. So basically, if you lose this guy, you lose this phone, no one is getting into it. You are absolutely 100% secure. That is the kind of peace of mind that I'm talking about when I talk about very important data, and that sense of empowerment that comes with control, that comes with that peace of mind. Okay, that again is just setting you apart from the masses. It's just an experience within the consumer arena that most people do not have access to right now, and that's always part of what luxury is about. And last, this is an interesting example. This is, you know, this guy, Edward Snowden, the whistleblower from the US. In 2016, he got on a stage with a hacker called Andrew Huang and presented a design for a smartphone case that alerts you whenever your smartphone is sending or receiving data. The case is called the introspection engine. And the idea is that various nefarious organizations, people, agents, whoever are trying to, you know, worm their way into your phone and extract data. Obviously, in order for them to do that, your phone has to be sending data. It will be sending data without your knowledge, unless you have this case, the introspection engine, that will alert you whenever your phone is sharing data. So if it's just sitting on the desk and it shouldn't be sharing data and suddenly it is, you know that something fishy is going on. Edward Snowden says that the use case he had in mind when he developed it was around journalists, because he says journalists are increasingly at risk of being hacked by governments, by agencies, by organizations who want to know what those journalists are finding out. They want to know what those journalists know. You know, wherever leading edge cases go, sometimes and we'll touch on this time and again, sometimes it's the very rich, sometimes it's a certain set of professionals with a certain set of needs. We tend to follow, the masses tend to follow. So you can imagine consumers, you know, we talk so much about consumer expectation and how innovations change consumer expectation. This thing's only in beta mode, it's just a prototype, it hasn't been released yet. But you only have to see this innovation, consumers only have to see it to have their expectations subtly reconfigured, to start to wonder to themselves, how come my phone doesn't tell me when it's silently sending data when it shouldn't be, or when it's receiving data when it shouldn't be? You know, I want something like that. And as soon as journalists start to have it, that expectation cycle will only become more intense. You know, why doesn't my phone do that? Why don't I have this? That's a great example of how these kinds of innovations change what consumers expect. And it really, again, is an insight into this powerful new direction in luxury consumerism. The security of data, total data peace of mind, or as we call it, very important data. So I would love you to have a think about how you can innovate around this trend, how you can serve that emerging new direction in customer expectations. You don't have to be a tech brand to apply this trend. You know, think about partnerships, okay? Bulgari is very far from being a tech with a tech brand to create an innovation for the kind of consumers they expect to deal with, for luxury consumers. So you could do the same, or if you are a tech brand, think about partnering with a luxury brand, okay, to bring this kind of innovation, a very important data innovation, to the kind of customers who will appreciate it. Okay, promptly on to trend number 3, premium redeemed. Now we talked, this whole webinar is themed around this idea of this status shift away from done to who I am as a person, because that status shift is fueling the profound shifts in the nature of luxury consumerism that we're seeing. Now, what's perhaps the most powerful aspect, the most powerful vector, if you like, when it comes to who I am as a person, it's person am I? How ethical a person am I? You know, that in the end is, I think most people would agree, the ultimate question we can ask about another human being. Are they a good person is what really matters in the end. So we are seeing in part this status race, this self-improvement status race, a race to be a better person, a more ethical person, a race to improve your ethics as a human being. And we're writing a lot about this in the upcoming 2017 trend report. That is informing some very interesting trends in the report. It's a big new direction in the consumer arena for 2017, we think. And it's also the direction that really informs this trend, because premium redeemed is about luxury consumerism that accommodates that feeling that I want to be better as a human being. And meanwhile, of course, by the way, we have rising numbers of consumers trapped in this kind of guilt spiral, these feelings of guilt. And we've written about this with guilt-free consumption. Perhaps you've read it, or you can Google it and read the free briefing, guilt-free consumption. This guilt spiral of feelings of guilt around the negative impacts that their consumerism has on the planet, the environment, on society, on their own health. And for those people, perhaps the ultimate luxury is just continued indulgence, continued consumerism, but without those feelings of guilt that are kind of putting a downer on things, that are kind of ruining everything. So on the one hand, we have this race to be a better human being because of the status that now accrues. On the other hand, we have this powerful, ever more intense guilt spiral, and that's coming together to produce consumers who want, when it comes to luxury, they want luxury consumerism that's kind of informed by a mission to make the world a better place. Luxury consumerism that is redeemed by a mission, an ethical mission to make the world better, whether that's on an environmental level, or a social level, a collective health level. Luxury consumerism that isn't just empty of ethics, okay, that actually positively makes the world better, and so then serves that need to feel good about oneself ethically, to show the world that you're an ethical person, and also assuages those feelings of guilt that you have when you know that your consumerism is having a negative impact on the environment, on other people, on yourself. I mean, just one very powerful sign of the times when it comes to the way we think about ethics and how it's related to status. Just look at the way we think about, and we talk about, more importantly, billionaires now. We all know how Mark Zuckerberg made his money, of course we do, but we talk much more. The bigger story almost really now is not how he made his money, it's how he's giving his money away. So December 2015, there was a huge story that Mark Zuckerberg had promised to give away 99% of his wealth to good causes by the end of his life. And very recently, I think just last week, we saw the Zuckerberg Chan initiative announce this huge, epic mission to essentially end human disease, to just solve human disease. That is an epic mission, okay? In the meantime, June 2016, Fortune magazine reported that 17 new billionaires had joined Warren Buffett's giving pledge, okay? So when it comes to billionaires, when it comes to the ultra rich, the story now is around their philanthropy. The story now is around how they are making the world a better place. That's a great thing, but it's deeply entwined with the way we think about those we look up to now, the way we think about the quote unquote most important in society, the most successful, and how they should be, and what they should do, and what they should do, what their purpose should be on this planet. And of course, the vast majority of us are not billionaires, and we're never going to be. But as I've said before, where the most visible, the most important, the highest in whatever domain you want to think about, where they lead, the rest of us, mainstream consumerism tends to follow. Okay, so billionaires want to give away all their wealth. They want to show that they're ethical. They want to show that they're making the world a better place. The rest of the consumer arena increasingly does too. Millions and millions and millions of other consumers do too. And that's what this trend is all about, premium redeemed. Now, I love this example. It's one of my favorites. Could there be an example that more perfectly encapsulates this trend? Because this is Diamond Foundry. This is a startup from Silicon Valley. It's all about ethical diamonds. This startup creates, using a high energy plasma field, it creates diamonds that are atomically identical to those found in nature. So in other words, they are real diamonds. These are not fake, unreal diamonds. These are real diamonds made by an artificial process, a man-made process. To get an idea of the status cachet associated with this startup, you only have to look at the investors: Leonardo DiCaprio, Larry Page, and Sergey Brin, Twitter co-founder Evan Williams. All of these people are invested in this company, and I think they're interested in it because we know that the diamond trade has deep ethical problems. We know there are huge ethical, social problems with diamond mining, with the whole diamond industry. And this is a startup that's essentially saying, imagine a future where we don't need any of that. We don't have any of that. We can still have diamonds. We can have this continued indulgence in these amazing stones, but we can do it perfectly, ethically, without hurting any human beings, without harmful social or environmental processes. Again, that just perfectly encapsulates what this trend, premium redeemed, is all about. Because yes, a diamond is luxurious, but how much more luxurious is it if you can tell that story about your diamond and just luxuriate in what that says about you as a person? This is another startup from San Francisco, proving that they don't all have to be super high tech. This is Fog Point. This is a new vodka made from fog harvested in San Francisco. It's made by a company called the Hangar One Distillery, and they used special fog catchers. You can see one of them there, to kind of harvest fog, to catch this fog over a 6-month period. They got enough to make 2,400 bottles of Fog Point, so of course it's a very limited edition product. Is this a long-term, global, epic, system-wide solution to water sustainability? No, of course it's not, but it's a product, in this case vodka, a water-based product, making a point, making a powerful point about the fact that we need to think again about water sustainability. We need to think again about how we access and use our water for all the many reasons that we do. So again, a luxury product with a very powerful ethical story at its heart. And again, that's just a perfect example of what premium redeemed is all about. Okay, because you serve this vodka, you're not just serving vodka to your guests, you're serving a story to your guests about the environment, and ultimately a story about who you are as a person. This is SK2. This is luxury Asian cosmetics brand. Ran a really powerful campaign in July 2016 called Dream Again. It's a really powerful video. Just Google it, SK2 Dream Again. It shows several women talking about the dreams they had as young girls, the dreams they had when they were young girls, and how they've kind of given up on them. And in the end, and they're talking about these dreams to a counselor, and at the end of the video it's revealed, well, actually I won't spoil the video for you. I'm not going to tell you what's revealed at the end of the video, but safe to say, there's a very powerful twist at the end of the video, and it just tells an amazing story about how social pressures, gender expectations in many, or in some at least, Asian countries lead young women to give up on their dreams, to feel stifled, okay, to feel that they can't pursue the lives that they wanted to pursue, and how that should change. Okay, so we're used to thinking of Asian luxury consumerism, or lots of at least are, as still obsessed with bling, still obsessed with the luxury handbag, the expensive, the very ostentatious, status markers. This is a really powerful ethical story that an Asian luxury brand is using to appeal to its customers. So you can see how that mindset that some of us might have is totally out of date, okay? And that they are embracing as well this trend that we call premium redeemed, putting ethics at the heart of luxury products. And this is almost certainly my favorite example of the entire webinar. This is Dear Leader. This is a sunglasses brand from Copenhagen, and this sunglasses brand is built entirely around the idea of bringing down the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. Okay, that's why it's called Dear Leader. It's a sunglasses brand because we all know that dude loves his sunglasses. Okay, every single sale generates support for organizations that are actively working inside North Korea to bring down this regime that I think we all know is a deeply distasteful, unpleasant regime. Right? It's a good cause. It's an entire brand built around a deeply ethical cause. So think about that. Okay, you buy these sunglasses, you wear these sunglasses. You're not just wearing a nice, pretty, expensive pair of sunglasses, 250 euros a pop, I think they go for. You're telling the world a story about who you are as a human being, what you believe as a human being, your determination as a human being to help make the world a better place. And again, that's just what premium redeemed is all about. Yes, luxury, yes, continued indulgence, yes, display, all of those things we're used to, but with an ethical purpose at its heart, because that is the ultimate luxury, to be able to know and tell people that I am having a positive impact on the world. And by the way, this is a great trend to just ask yourself, if you have a brainstorm around this trend with your team, a great trend to ask yourself, where in my business should I apply this trend? Okay, it's a question we always encourage clients to ask when they're into the process of starting to apply a trend, starting to turn a trend into an idea. Think about it. Do you want to turn this trend into a new product for your business, like Fog Point did? Hanger Distillery made Fog Point vodka. Do you want to apply this trend and think about a new campaign for your business, like SK2 did? Or do you want to build an entire new business, right? An entire new vision, an entire new brand around this trend, like Dear Leader did? Almost any trend can be applied at any one of those multiple levels. And this is a great trend to think about that. Where in your business do you want to apply? But actually, if you're brainstorming any of these trends, you can ask yourself the same question. Okay, ripping on to trend number 4, the extravagance economy. And yes, this trend takes its name from the on-demand economy, because this trend is all about luxury on demand. We know that the on-demand economy, on-demand services are now just assumed, right? Just totally assumed for millions of connected consumers worldwide. So what's next? And in particular, what's next for luxury consumers in 2017 when it comes to the on-demand economy? Well, I think it's pretty clear that the benefits offered by the on-demand economy, ultra convenience, instant service, are so powerful that no one is going to want to walk away from them. Luxury consumers, just because mainstream consumers have access to those things now, luxury consumers are not going to want to walk away. So the extravagance economy is about saying they instead will just want to push their on-demand consumerism to crazy new heights, push it to entirely new domains inside the consumer arena, so that the on-demand economy becomes for them the extravagance economy. It's just about saying, look at my on-demand economy. It's so much more exciting, so much more varied, so much more powerful than yours. Okay, ultimately that's what this trend is about, and I want to show you some great examples of that. Let's start with the obvious example, because even Uber has been allowed, or did allow for a while, UberJet from Paris to Cannes. This is way back in 2014. It revived the service in Romania in June, very briefly this year. So Uber for private jets is not a new idea by any means. Even Uber has done Uber for private jets, but this is Jet Smarter. They're another one of the startups that are being talked about as the Uber for private jets. And they did something very interesting recently in March 2016. Instead of only allowing their users to book an entire jet for a journey, they started to allow their users on selected flights to book just a single seat in a private jet that was already making that journey. So it was allowed on various routes, including London to Nice, London to Geneva. In June 2016, they pushed this out to London to New York as well. So instead of just booking an entire jet, book a seat on a private jet. Uber for a seat on a private jet is the extravagance economy par excellence. I think you will agree. This is Alibaba's Tmall. They did something very interesting, very different recently. If you think about what the on-demand economy is all about: instant service, instant access, instant purchase, all on that, all at the touch of a button, all at the touch of a smartphone button. So Tmall recently launched in March 2016 a luxury flash sale channel, and it had this amazing launch event that was live streamed on a bespoke mobile app to millions of people all around the world. They had a runway show. You can see a picture of that in front of you, featuring 42 outfits. And inside the app, all of those luxury outfits were available to purchase immediately. So you had stuff from Armani, a huge range of Gucci, a huge range of luxury brands, all available to buy at the tap of a button on that app. So a very different angle on the extravagance economy, but still fundamentally informed by that on-demand mindset, that the smartphone has remote control for life, tap of a button, and I get what I want. This one I love because it's just it's just beautifully obvious. This is the Uber for supercars. Eventually, this is April 2016, taxi drivers in Cancun. They wanted to go, they were up against Uber in competition with Uber, so they launched this service that allowed, they were predominantly aiming at wealthy tourists, allowed these wealthy tourists to open an app and at the touch of a button order a Lamborghini, a Ferrari. There was a vintage Mercedes-Benz that they could order. So you order your on-demand economy, you order a car, an Uber at the touch of a button. My extravagance economy, I order a Lamborghini at the touch of a button. You can see how that works. It's just pushing the on-demand economy to new heights, to crazy heights. And no one needs to do that. No one needs a Ferrari as a taxi. It's just nice to have sometimes. And in terms of, so that's new heights. In terms of pushing it into new domains of consumerism, this example is really interesting. This is available in January 2016, the drop-off from a catering company called Hunter 8 Hunter. It allowed Londoners to order ready-made dinner parties to their doors. Okay, so you could open this app, browse all kinds of options about obviously the food you wanted, the table decorations, the nature of the menus, the flowers, the candles. Touch of a button, that is delivered to your door in less than 24 hours. So really just the Uber, if you want to put it like that, the Uber for luxury dinner parties. Dinner party in a box delivered to your door in 24 hours. That is the extravagance economy at work. So many, so many applications of that trend, so many possibilities, so many angles on thinking about how you can turn the on-demand economy into the extravagance economy. If you really want to get ahead of the curve, if this is the trend that appeals to you, you want to brainstorm this trend, and you really want to get ahead of the curve, think about a little trend baby. Think about combining this trend with the previous trend, premium redeemed. What happens when the extravagance economy and premium redeemed get together and have a little trend baby? And that's really interesting, because if you think about the on-demand economy, one of the problems bedeviling it at the moment are ethical concerns around the way the on-demand economy treats workers, treats the people that supply the services. And of course, one of the big problems is often they are not properly treated as workers, they are not treated as employees, and there are all kinds of issues around that. So what does it look like when we start to get ethical on-demand services? Again, that's a question we're asking ourselves for the 2017 trend report, but the question you could ask yourself for this trend is, what does it look like when you have ethical extravagance economy products and services? When the extravagance economy becomes ethical, when the extravagance economy becomes premium redeemed. That's a really interesting angle into this trend for you. And if you want to read even more about ethical on demand and how that's all coming together, you can Google a previous trend briefing of ours called Peer Armies and dive into that, and that's got lots more thoughts on that subject for you. So racing on to our fifth and final trend, a big idea to end on, that's called post-demographic luxury. And if you've listened to these webinars before, you've read our content, certainly if you're a premium client, you'll be familiar with this idea that we talk about often, called post-demographic consumerism. And post-demographic luxury simply is the luxury angle on that epic megatrend, post-demographic consumerism. Post-demographic consumerism is about saying that the old demographic model that we have inhabited for decades, that we've used for decades as consumer-facing people, that old model that said we can learn more, understand more, predict more about our consumers based on demographic tags such as, you know, are they a man or a woman? Are they old or young? Where do they live? What's their income? What's their marital status? What's their sexuality? That model is breaking down. That model is not as powerful as it used to be. And that's because consumers are more free now than they've ever been to just shed all that demographic expectation, okay, and construct lifestyles and mindsets, ways of thinking, attitudes of their own choosing, free from that kind of demographic determinism. We've talked a lot about that in the past. So what's the huge takeaway for luxury brands? Well, in a post-demographic age where people are, you know, constructing their own lives just more intensely, faster, with more freedom than ever, in that kind of environment, your thinking on who your customers are and how they think is likely, unless you factored this trend in already, is likely to be outdated. Okay, it's likely to be now out of touch with the reality. And in 2017, the smart luxury brands will think again. They'll embrace new kinds of customers. They'll embrace previously marginalized people, and they'll also embrace brand positionings that feel to them totally out of kilter with the traditions that their brand has adhered to. Okay, they'll commit what we call heritage heresies. That is, they'll dispense with their old brand heritage and they'll embrace new kinds of brand positionings. And why? Because that will enable them to get in touch for the first time, or get back into touch with these post-demographic consumers who are creating their own lives, creating their own mindsets as never before. And I just want to look at some examples that give you a handle on how you can approach that. I mean, we talked about new brand positionings. We talked about doing things in a new way. How about this? This is Fendi, the luxury fashion label, launching in July 2016, essentially a traveling shop, a mobile shop. Okay, that's not something we associate typically with a luxury brand. This is the Fendi Ape. It's a little, as you can see, three-wheeler truck, and it made a little traveling tour across the US and Canada, selling a capsule collection of Fendi's iconic products. So like I say, you know, a little traveling truck, a very humble little van, is not something we typically associate with a luxury brand. But in 2017, you know, smart brands, for them it will pay to think about how they can do something differently, something that will enable them to get into contact with, to open themselves up to new kinds of customers who've previously been held at arm's length by their typical brand position, by their typical brand heritage. Okay, these new customers are out there. A luxury customer is not necessarily now someone who's a certain age, a certain income bracket, lives in a certain place. No, you know, those traditional ways of thinking are increasingly becoming irrelevant. So how can you innovate to open yourselves up to new kinds of customers who would want to engage if you just open the door a little bit? Another angle on this trend is very simply to target a new demographic, target a demographic you have typically thought is quote unquote not for you. Because there's no such thing in a post-demographic age as a demographic that's not for you. You know, that is based on a whole load of assumptions and a whole load of thinking that just isn't in touch with the reality of how people think and how they live their lives these days. So this is Lamborghini, and they plan to roll out in 2018. This SUV targeted specifically at women with families and single women. It's part of a big pivot presided over by the CEO towards families and female customers. Okay, and that's a really currently women make up just 5% of Lamborghini drivers, but the company knows that we're in a post-demographic age now. We're in an age where this idea that supercars, you know, women are not interested in cars, women are not interested in supercars, is just not remotely true anymore, and luxury car makers, super car makers, just need to catch up with that reality. And this is Lamborghini very clearly trying to do that. This is Louis Vuitton, another interesting angle on post-demographic consumerism, is to say, okay, in an environment where people are crazily, wildly creating their own lifestyles, their own mindsets, their own ways of thinking with a greater degree of social freedom than ever before, we should celebrate that. And we should celebrate the new diversity and the new kinds of lifestyles and the new tolerance that that is giving rise to. So this is Louis Vuitton running a campaign that very simply just paid attention to, is the simplest way I can put it, just paid attention to the new kinds of thinking we see around gender and gender fluidity and just the diminishment of traditional gender roles. So this is it was in January 2015, they ran a campaign for their spring-summer collection. And the actor Jaden Smith, Will Smith's son, of course, he featured in that campaign prominently, but he was wearing, quote unquote, again, women's clothes. So you can see a picture of him here and in others. He was wearing a skirt from the collection, okay? And this is just a hat tip to the idea that gender is more fluid now. Attitudes around gender are much more fluid, and rightly, and it's a great thing that we're just not trapped in these traditional ways of thinking when it comes to men and women and how they should behave, how they should think, how they should act. And Louis Vuitton is just tipping their hat to that. And that is a great way of opening yourself up as a brand to new kinds of customers who previously felt marginalized and just didn't feel that you had any interest in them. And last, another great way to just approach the epic megatrend, the epic shift that is post-demographic consumerism, is through really interesting partnerships. I talked to you at the beginning of this about heritage heresies, about throwing away your brand heritage, or at least being brave enough to temporarily put to one side your brand heritage and do something really new, experiment, open yourself up to new kinds of customers. This is the Swiss watchmaker Richard Mille partnering not with a fine artist, we typically associate luxury brands with fine artists, but partnering with a French graffiti artist known as Congo on a watch that costs, no, you can't see it there, so I'll tell you, $685,000. So they partnered with this street graffiti artist to create the watch you can see in front of you there that cost over $500,000, okay? And that's a really interesting partnership, a really unexpected partnership, that you can just see the thought process. Let's not go with the expected. Let's not partner with a fine artist, with the type of artist that people would typically associate with a luxury brand. Let's partner with the kind of artist that that is the diametric opposite, that people would never associate with a luxury brand, because that will open us up to new kinds of consumers. And indeed, even the old traditional kinds of consumers are not necessarily interested in the type of culture, the type of art that we've traditionally thought they are. Okay, so again, just a really powerful way of approaching this epic shift that is post-demographic consumerism. And it really is an epic shift. There is so much more we could talk about. Again, if you're deeply interested in that trend, Google post-demographic consumerism, you'll find our trend briefings online, and you can read more all about it, because it's really just transforming, it's relevant for every brand across every market, every sector, every industry. Okay, that's a whistle-stop tour. I really hope you've enjoyed it. That wraps up our 5 trends. I just want to finish really, really quickly with some fun examples in this little section I call ridiculed, then revolutionary, because it's easy to make fun of stuff that seems crazy, but ridiculed to revolutionary, ridiculed to significant is a story that, particularly when it comes to luxury consumerism, has happened over and over and over again. So the people on the bleeding edge of luxury, the people that are pointing the way to the consumers and the nature of the consumerism that's pointing in the way towards the future of luxury, often seems at the time ridiculous. And it's very easy to ridicule those people. But just, we talked about self-improvement, this race for status. Just rewind kind of 30, say 3 decades, not that long ago. Jogging was seen as a ridiculous kind of crazy niche activity. Like, why would anyone put on a pair of trainers and a pair of shorts and kind of run at a medium pace through an urban environment in a circle, ending up back at their house? That is just totally nuts. Now, of course, jogging is an utterly mainstream, form of self-improvement, totally mainstream kind of status marker that says I'm the type of person that's interested in my health and I have the discipline to do it. So it's just very interesting to look at what seems ridiculous to us now and ask, may this actually be a revolution in the making? Might this turn out to be a very significant new direction? So, number one, when it comes to ridicule to revolutionary, the future of luxury is danger. These glasses are called gems. They're designed by Martin Jacobson, and they are made from radioactive uranium glass that glow green under ultraviolet light. So yes, they are really radioactive, but then the makers of them assure that it's kind of a low-level, non-dangerous. So when I say dangerous, of course, I'm playing kind of fast and loose, I'm being frivolous. It's a non-dangerous level. But think about this. Think about the amazing story that these glasses enable you to tell as you serve your whiskey, and you dim the lights. It's really about that magic moment, the story, and the slight element, the slight kind of pinprick of risk that your guests will feel as you serve them that drink that is kind of exciting. Okay, so will we see more of that in the future? Pushing out even further, the future of luxury is invisibility. This is the issue scarf that features light reflecting anti-flash technology that makes the wearer invisible in a flash photograph. Now, of course, that does sound crazily gimmicky, but think about actually take a step back for a moment. For a start, a whole line of celebrities have already worn this scarf. Cameron Diaz, DMX, whole load of singers, Nick Jonas has worn it. And we've said time and again in this webinar, where the most important among us, the most visible, the richest, whatever it is, where they go, others will tend to follow. Okay, privacy is becoming a more and more important issue, not just to famous people, but to all kinds of ordinary people too, because of social media. Will this desire for privacy see, essentially invisibility technology become a powerful new direction in the future of luxury? It's worth thinking about. And a final massive epic thought to finish on, the ultimate future of luxury, the most luxurious of the luxurious. What else could it be but immortality, living forever? There's a Silicon Valley startup called Eternimi that collects user data, kind of social media photographs, things you've written, your tweets, all of that. And it promises it will make a chatbot version of you, a chatbot version of the user when the user dies. Yes, you heard me right. And if you've seen the Black Mirror episode, Be Right Back, yes, it is exactly like that. And I know it did not end well, but Eternimi are plowing on. They want to make a chatbot version of you when you die by scraping all your data off the internet and then handing that chatbot to your loved ones. Could that become a powerful new direction in the future of luxury? Digital immortality, which might just tide us over until Google's Calico, the very smart people there, solve actual immortality, the actual problem of aging and death. Are we heading towards a future where the ultimate luxury is to be able to tell your friends and family, Calico have sorted it out so that I will never die unless you push me in front of a bus? They can't solve that. Okay. I just want to really finish by taking a very quick look, taking a step back from the future of luxury and just looking at the bigger picture. Because for these 5 trends, for all the trends we track, all the trends that you track out there too, it really is powerful and really helps to view them within a broader context. And the broader context that we view them in is our trend framework, which I want to talk a tiny bit about. And of course, our trend framework is something you know all about. If you're a premium client, you already have access to it. You know all about it already. Spotting trends starts with watching innovations, okay? That's why we sit here at Trend Watching at the heart of a network, the Trend Watching Insight Network, thousands of people all around the world, relentlessly sending us examples of new products, new services, new campaigns that they've seen in their markets all the time. And what we're doing is kind of joining the dots between those innovations, asking how do these innovations change customer expectations? How can we draw dots between them, draw lines between them, and make patterns, spot the new directions of travel, spot the trends. And of course, this is something we talk about a lot in our book, Trend Driven Innovation, which deals with our methodology. But we are really mapping all the innovations we see against this. This is our trend framework. This is the framework of 16 megatrends. 16 megatrends that we use to encapsulate the entire consumer arena. Okay, these are the big, slow-moving directions of change within the consumer arena that are kind of year-on-year directions or decade-on-decade directions of change. You know, something like status seekers, which we've talked all about. You know, the search for status with the consumer within the consumer arena. Betterment, you know, the search for self-improvement. Fuzzynomics is all about the way consumers and producers are becoming one. The lines are blurring between them. Post-demographic consumerism, we talked about that. Infolust, the search for perfect information. So we track, or we map all the innovations we see against this framework. All the trends that we track fall somewhere in this framework. All the trends we've talked about today fall somewhere in this framework. So of course, something like premium redeemed will fall under better business, which is the mega trend that captures, you know, the epic search for a more ethical, more sustainable consumerism. Very important data would fall under, say, Ubitech and Infolust. Ubitech is our megatrend that captures, you know, just the increasing ubiquity of technology in the consumer arena. Now, seeing those trends against the context of those megatrends, against the context of this framework, gives you powerful insight into where the trend has come from, but even more importantly, powerful insight into where the trend is heading next. You know, seeing that trend sit alongside the other trends in that framework, thinking about it within the context of its own mega trend, gives you powerful insight into where that trend will evolve, how it's likely to evolve over time. And then, of course, we're throwing new examples into the database week on week, showing the evolution of that trend and the evolution of all our other trends too. So the trend framework becomes a very powerful handle on your analysis of the innovations and trends that you're seeing around you. You premium clients, dive in if you're interested in looking at these trends against the trend framework. Okay. I think that's more than enough for me. It's back to work for me, back to my team, back to the Trend Report 2017. Like I said, there's only a month to go. We are deep within writing those trends, producing the report, really excited to push it out to you premium clients. Super, super excited, of course, to see those among you who've already bought tickets to one of our 5 events coming to cities around the world soon. I think, though, that it is time to hand it over to you. Okay, take these 5 trends, run with one or more of them. You can use our consumer trend canvas that you can download for free on the site to ideate around these trends, run your own workshop with your team around one of these trends, turn these trends into your next product, your next service, your next marketing campaign, your next business model. You know, do something with them, because trends in the end, as we're always saying, are useless unless you act. You have to do something, not just nice to know, but truly useful is what you have to aim at. And I really hope this has given you a bit of food for thought and a bit of help in that journey. But thanks so much for listening, and I will talk to you again next month. But until then, goodbye.